Hello. As we continue to navigate this pandemic, which includes a degree of isolation for some of us, and when many of us are not yet comfortable in gathering at the Sunday Liturgy, Father Phan and I thought that this might be a good time for us to review what we do at Mass, to review the liturgy in all of its elements, beginning with the opening rites and concluding with the ending rites, the concluding rites of the liturgy. Each year, the RCIA candidates have an opportunity to walk through the Mass, attending to each of the elements, and it's helpful to them to be able to do so. They learn why we do what we do at the various parts of the Mass, and it's helpful to them, and so we thought it might be helpful to you as well. We'll try to keep each segment short, maybe no more than 10 minutes. We will be using this book called The Mystery of Faith, which is published by the Federation of Diocesan Liturgical Commissions. If you don't already have a copy, you can get it online, or if you call the office, we can get a copy for you. On Easter Sunday, at the evening liturgy, the Church gives us the option to read from the Gospel of Luke, the story of the two disciples on the way to Emmaus. I've always thought that story expresses something of the movement of the liturgy that we celebrate each Sunday, beginning with the gathering and moving to especially the two main pillars of the liturgy of the Word and the liturgy of the Eucharist. And so I thought I'd read that story, make a few comments about it, and then use that as a place to start in talking about our liturgy in general. This is a reading from the Holy Gospel according to Luke. That very day, the first day of the week, two of Jesus' disciples were going to a village 7 miles from Jerusalem called Emmaus. And they were conversing about all the things that had occurred. And it happened that while they were conversing and debating, Jesus himself drew near and walked with them, but their eyes were prevented from recognizing him. He asked them, "What are you discussing as you walk along?" They stopped, looking downcast. One of them, named Cleopas, said to him in reply, "Are you the only visitor to Jerusalem who does not know of the things that have taken place there in these days?" And he replied to them, "What sort of things?" They said to him, "The things that happened to Jesus the Nazarene, who was a prophet, mighty in deed and word, before God and all the people. How our chief priests and rulers both handed him over to a sentence of death and crucified him. But we were hoping that he would be the one to redeem Israel. And besides all this, it is now the 3rd day since this took place. Some women from our group, however, have astounded us. They were at the tomb early in the morning and did not find his body. They came back and reported that they had indeed seen a vision of angels who announced that he was alive. Then some of those with us went to the tomb and found things just as the women had described, but him they did not see." And he said to them, "Oh, how foolish you are, how slow of heart to believe all that the prophets spoke. Was it not necessary that the Christ should suffer these things and enter into his glory?" Then, beginning with Moses and all the prophets, he interpreted to them what referred to him in all the scriptures. As they approached the village to which they were going, he gave the impression that he was going on farther. But they urged him, "Stay with us, for it is nearly evening and the day is almost over." So he went in to stay with them. And it happened that while he was with them at table, he took bread, said the blessing, broke it, and gave it to them. With that, their eyes were opened, and they recognized him, but he vanished from their sight. Then they said to each other, "Were not our hearts burning within us while he spoke to us on the way and opened the scriptures to us?" So they set out at once and returned to Jerusalem, where they found gathered together the 11 and those with them who were saying, "The Lord has truly been raised and has appeared to Simon." Then the two recounted what had taken place on the way, and how he was made known to them in the breaking of bread. The Gospel of the Lord. I've often thought that this Gospel reading, the journey to Emmaus, reflects the movement of liturgy, because if you notice at the beginning, the two disciples are burdened by all that they have seen and heard over the past few days in Jerusalem, in watching their friend Jesus, his suffering, his being tried, his suffering and his death. It is when Jesus then joins their group that they are moved to share their burdens with the other. And so they say to him, "Are you the only one who has not heard of all the things that have gone on in these days?" So now they're no longer navel gazing, but they've moved outside themselves and are reflecting somewhat on their burdens, but with Jesus. When we gather in this place each Sunday, we come with our own burdens from near and far. We come with burdens from family life, from work, from maybe past mistakes. We come with burdens that have to do with the problems of our world. And it is our encounter with Christ in this place that helps us then to stop our navel gazing and to become a worshiping community. We move from there, as Jesus does in the Gospel, to listening to the Scriptures. First, as Jesus says, with listening to stories about Moses and the prophets, and then moving on, in our case, to the Gospel, which speaks about Jesus and all that refers to him. We move from there to the Eucharistic table. In the Gospel, they meet at this hotel or motel, whatever it happens to be, in or near Emmaus. And there they break bread. And in the breaking of the bread, they recognize that it is Jesus who is in their midst, who has walked with them along the way. Which is what we do here as well. We move from the liturgy of the Word, and we hear about all that God has done and the life of Christ and the things that he has done in our midst. And then we move from there to the Eucharist, where we eat and drink what we have heard, basically. And once we have eaten and have drunk of the Lord's body and blood, then we are sent forth from this place as the disciples in the Gospel to tell others about what we have seen and heard.